Ah, another lovely day out in the world of the Breath of the Wild. Oh, hang on. What's this lovely little lump of land? We must investigate. Oh yeah, this is prime real estate for my favorite side quest in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, in which you help build a small town. But you know what it needs? An inn! I wonder how they must have made it out of cardboard boxes. Okay, so how do we start? Well, over here is a 6x6 centimeter stencil. We could use that to make 6x6x6 cubes. Careful when cutting cardboard though, it gets quite bumpy. Oh. Well, there's the bumpy culprit. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. First, discover how weird your pinky looks in this shot, and then lament the fact that you have to deal with the waffle cardboard this whole project. Or make 2 of them and then entice them to proliferate, thereby skipping the step of cutting them all up yourself. Careful though, this can get messy. Let's try not to get age restricted already. Let's save these naughty bits for later. Next, go grab your box with the unnecessarily large lid and chuck that out of here. See ya! But keep the box itself, because we're gonna use it to make square things square. This project is heavily improvised. I thought I was being hella fresh by gluing together the cardboard at like alternating angles, but it turns out that the cardboard with the vertical waffle pattern tended to like bow inwards as it got moist from various goops and goos, so keep yours horizontal, I'd say. This is also like the first time I used a hot glue gun since like elementary school, so it was quite fun. It was very messy. I think one important aspect to keep in mind during this step is to use too much hot glue so that you have to use a cardboard squeegee to wipe most of it off again, thereby having to go out and buy more hot glue gun glue sticks and keeping the hot glue gun glue stick business in business. Yep, not a single thing went wrong. All day. Am I a real crafter yet?
Smoking these meats.
Oh, wait, hang on, I'll help me. There I go. Thanks. And that makes 1 box done. Oh, hang on, someone's moved in already. Oi! And with a little bit of love and a little bit of lust, it'll grow into 3 boxes in no time. But we're gonna need 10. So hop aboard and grab your board and get ready to glue together cardboard. And if you get bored, can I recommend putting on a show accessible through our sponsor, Bored VPN? So bad. To be honest though, this was quite enjoyable. I think I have a higher tolerance for monotonous and repetitive tasks after doing animation. It's quite nice. Okay, this is getting ridiculous though. Hold on, let me just, there you go. Here's a big brain move I thought of literally at the last box I had to put together. So my recommendation to you, unless you're following along chronologically in real time, which A, impressive, but B, you should have done this from the start. Thanks. If you're feeling lazy and you want to stop here, at least you made a fun little game.
I don't really like this anymore. This movie sucks.
And all we did was recycle some scrap cardboard. Best part, it was free. So don't go garbing it. Next, mark out where all of the windows and doors and stuff are gonna go, and then put the cubes in the correct orientation. I made this little window template so that I could just sort of roughly eyeball, put it in the center of each square, and then mark out where the window should go. And then I got my adult supervision and a knife. These vertical waffles are really starting to bow. Do I have enough hot glue to make this structurally sound? It's kind of putting me off. I'm gonna take a coffee break. Now, I know a lot of people take their coffee plain and have no need for coffee stirring sticks, and that's fine. I take my coffee with a dash of milk, but I do take my coffee stirring sticks plain, so they have no need for coffee. Oh, careful. Oh, I'm using these sticks, by the way. Gobi, pick your favorite stick and hold it up to the model for a roughly and loosely estimated reference board. Now that's a full wall. Wow. And using these as templates, I simultaneously cut out way too many and way not enough coffee stirring sticks at the same time. Oh yeah, nice and sticky. Hey, did I ever tell you I invented a flawless stick catcher? Check it out. It worked every time. Perfect. Oh, these dragon scales will probably never get used. Back again with the board, coming in with some hot, not hot glue, using a proprietary finger to spread it all over the cardboard and then putting down board by board. Honestly, this was one of my favorite parts. Such a low amount of work for such a nice result. Oh yeah, and glue tends to warp things, so I weighed it down. When it came to the white trim that goes around every single cube, I started making it out of coffee stirring sticks, but nah. That was too boring. So using math cleverly disguised as fun, I made this stencil that fits perfectly over the one cube, and then I drew that many times on paper, and then I cut that out many times. Oh yeah, and I also indented some little grooves in each corner to sort of simulate a board meeting another board. Ultimately though, this gets covered up completely, so it didn't really matter. Woo! And then get your cleanest palette and your cleanest water trough, because it's time to get painting, baby.
Nice shot!
Fortunately for me, the art style of the game is sort of handmade and hand-painted, so I gave all the boards one coat of slightly watered down acrylic paint. And then I painted this secret board for later. Oh yeah, and also the window that weren't gonna have light sources behind them anyway, I didn't bother cutting them out, so I just painted them black. Shh, don't tell anybody though, they're real, they're there! I decided to stick with the basic straight out the tube RGB colors because I wanted everyone to know that I am a real gamer, but also I needed to perfectly match many surfaces to each other. Yikes, that is some ketchup. I really hope that the dry brushing and the weathering will kind of take care of that. We need to suppress the current middle school crafts fair vibe. And it's all done! Ain't that neat? I did have to make another special extra cube because this one turned out a bit wonky up top. So I used it for practice. Here I practiced cutting a round hole. Here I practiced drawing a Pikachu. And then on this side I practiced script writing. It didn't work out. But this did. Hey, for the windows, maybe we could fashion a window frame and use that to make a window frame. And then we could just drop that window frame on top of the window.
That could work.
I'll try this dangerous method for splitting coffee stirring sticks. Neat. And then this tedious method of sanding them down until they fit perfectly within the window frame. This was actually the method I ended up using the most because it was just so satisfying when they just fit. Perfect. Hold on, there's a bit of dust in the middle. I'll get it.
That wasn't the smartest idea I've ever had.
Keeping with the theme, I then used this bad method for gluing the sticks together using super glue on my crafting mat.
Oh, it's bad. Wait a minute.
Ultimately though, I didn't end up loving this method.
Oh, it's really bad. Oh no!
So I would instead recommend this much safer method for splitting coffee stirring sticks and this much better way of putting down a strip of tape, sticky side up, and then just puzzling your pieces onto it. No big deal. Look at me go. This isn't even edited. Raw footage. And then I just dotted some glue in each corner. This is a little crafty tip that I learned from watching Studson Studios, and so should you. Go now. I'll paint all these parts separately so the window frames won't go on now, but the house frames will. So get ready to get gooey with some gluey and some patience and some weights. And then you weights while listening to Tom Waits and lifting weights. No weights. I'm awake. Ooh, maybe this lid from this cheap food container could be used for windows. I'll try some pro sanding moves using some questionable finger motions to roughen up the inside of the windows, since I mainly wanted the light from within to spill out and not the eyeballs from outside to spill in. And then I dropped the window frame on with a bit of glue to somewhat successfully secure everything in place. Actually, I don't want to fool ya, I did spray the back of the windows with a gray primer as well to further diffuse the light. Such delicate work. Don't even breathe. Oh gosh, okay, some cracks are pretty darn good. But unlike other cracks, these cracks need to be glued together, so we need to fix that. To make sure that everything lined up, I used some spare scrap pieces of cardboard and hot glued them to the one side, and you can use them as spacers to make sure that the white trim just touches each other. It kinda worked, mostly. Just don't look at the naughty underside. Okay, so on this bit right here, I'm gonna draw a little target so that it feels like I hit the bullseye when I line them up. But also, check out this accidental music sync. Nice. Okay, if you're like a pasta connoisseur, look away, because I'm gonna use my pasta maker to kind of flatten this piece of cardboard a bit. I was trying this out earlier just for fun with some scrap cardboard I had, and it kind of works. And I needed this to be a little bit flatter than it was, because I wanted to use it for support for the second floor. Hopefully by now you've gotten over any prior traumatic glue gun experiences, and you're ready for more. That's a fit. Nice. You know what, for good measure, let's use something heavy to weigh it down. Oh, and one thing you'll notice when you're filming a video is how dirty everything is, so this would be a good time to wipe things off. Make sure you take great care when you're assembling everything so you don't glue the wrong pieces in the wrong places. This is important. Okay, let's get to work on these nasty corners. For these pieces, I held up some more cardstock and just sort of loosely estimated where all the corners would be, then I cut that out and just hot glued it in place. Turns out it works pretty well. I also did try to glue on larger pieces of cardstock and then cutting off the excess, but I don't think my knife was sharp enough because it just made a mess. Time to pick out your favorite sticks. This one is a little too wonky, but these ones are fine. We're gonna need more sticks. Here. Nice. And then we're gonna have to make a door. This is just sticks and then bisected sticks, but twice. Okay, we gotta get a little spicy. Let's take all the wood pulp from earlier, and then also enough carpenter spackle to make the tube make this noise. And then I also had some white carpenter spackle, so I figured I'd throw that in there as well, and then I mixed it all with some glue and this creepy custom chemical concoction. This was a very improvised attempt at making my own seam cream, but since it's literally just a mixture of whatever I had that starts out moist and then turns hard, I have now decided to call this Gap Sap. The purposes of Gap Sap is to basically fill in any cracks or crevices left by slightly misaligned cardboard or paper and just sort of smooth things out. In hindsight though, I probably shouldn't have used the sandy type of spackle because it ended up looking a little bit more like concrete, but that's okay. For future reference though, oh, it was maybe also a little too wet because it did make the paper kinda soft in places. So it starts out, I guess we go from moist to soft to hard. No, I'm gonna leave now. You keep watching though. Oh, wait, you should paint them first. Okay, where were we? Go onto Amazon and order this very exact same respirator because we're gonna need the box. Let's make a roughly estimated triangle 4 times and then glue them to the top of the building. And also these toothpicks that someone put in the center. Clap clap for Mechanical Fiend for this sticky pointer. For the shingles, rather than doing singles, cut out a strip of paperboard and then score it here, 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 and here, using magic. Or a knife. And then you can just fold them all up. That way you can give every other one or so a nice little trim, just for that added spice of life. Look at that. Wow. Ooh. And with a half-hearted dribble of white glue, I glued them to each side of each cardboard roof. For this part, in hindsight, I would probably recommend finding nearest grandma and stealing her glue stick instead, because the liquid glue got very slippery very quickly. Just make sure to overlap the strips sideways as well so that this paper roof is waterproof. I did zero measuring here. We'll fix it in post. And then I lined each corner with a little paper trim. Oh hey, you didn't forget to make your window shutters off camera, did you? And paint them? All of them? Oh, okay, good. Good job. And then all the shutters get glued to the appropriate windows. I didn't really like how the darker windows came out, so I decided to glue on the shutters in various states of ajarness.
Nice shot.
In hindsight, I should have probably just sprayed all of the windows with the same gray primer and then kept the black on the cardboard rather than painting the windows black on the inside. But when I keep the shutters somewhat closed like this, it almost makes it look intentional. And that way people can think I'm super smart instead of messing up. Okay, next, mess up the roof. Technically, the long roof isn't supposed to look like this, but it's too late, so it's okay. Then go get your trauma gun again and goo it all up for a nice squishy fit. Yeah, just push it down hard with your fingers. Nice! And a coat of terracotta, why not? For the next step, I had to order some crafting supplies, which is quite expensive to get delivered, but sometimes they also send food. Ah, worth its weight in wood. Chopsticks like these usually have a perfect beam or pole shape. So I measured out 3cm increments, and then I hit it with a score and snap. And then I sanded them down a bit, because a splinter at this scale for like a person on this world, that could take out your eye. Oh, we need to figure out how to mount these as well. Maybe I can just take a piece of wire and like stick it in the end? I tried pushing about this much and then about this much, and then it hurt my finger and it did nothing. Let's get dangerous. With the tiniest attachment to the Dremel, I gave this stick a root canal, but it wasn't enough, so I had to stab it a bit with my craft knife, and then I could jam the wire up there. Look, it makes a dynamite. Is that depiction of weaponry? I do still want them to look brown and sticky once I'm done with them though, so I'm ever so delicately painting them in very watered down, but not watered down enough, acrylic brown paint. Paint? If you too find yourself in excess of watered down acrylic brown, this would be a good time to find anything else you might want to paint brown. The upstairs fence was created with a time-honored tradition of holding up a stick, drawing a line on the stick, cutting the stick just enough to fit, and then splotch-shot, globbing on a bit of glue on either end and just wedging it in and hoping that they will stay there. And they did, so I win. Okay, now it's your turn to be creative. Close your eyes and imagine that this fence was green. Well, good job! It's supposed to be blue though, but still. Oh, now it's time for dry brushing. Dry brushing? What the heck is that? Dip in your toothbrush in starch? No. Dry brushing usually means taking a lighter version of your base colors and then just lightly brushing the edges of your model so that just the raised areas and highlights get highlight on them with paint. This is one of my most and least favorite parts of a project because I'm not good at it, but it really does help bring a model together and really elevate the model and the scale. Et voila! And this puppy's ready for a top coat of matte varnish, but for that we gotta go outside.
The next morning.
Outside no one can poison you. One of the best things about being Swedish is that once a year IKEA sends you this complimentary piece of weird thick cardboard. So I'm gonna use part of it for a base. I'm not a gold tier member just yet though, so we gotta fix the edges ourselves. What do you think about gluing 1.5 centimeter strips of this awful paperboard to each side? Yeah, this'll do for now. I want you to brace yourself though, because the next part is quite scary. We need to resurrect some rejected cardboard, because I need a template for where the house is gonna go after I've applied all the various goops that I'm going to apply. So I'll temporarily stick this freak of nature in place, and then it's back to, toilet humor? This is just a mix of random amounts of carpenter spackle and about 2 good cries worth of water. Then use a butter knife I don't like to smear this forbidden soft serve all over the place. I wasn't overly concerned about getting it perfect as much as I was concerned about getting it on. Then I stole this egg brush from the kitchen, and I used it with a bit of water to just sort of slap it all over the surface to create irregularities and get rid of any brush strokes. The coarse bristles almost kinda made it look like grass almost. So that was nice. Could have sworn that these shutters looked a little different in the game. Okay, quick, cut out a bunch of paperboard, mix together this copper and this gunmetal paint in here with some glue, and just way too much water until you get this super psychedelic soup. And then let's just try to dip them and slap them on and hope that the glue and the water and the paint will adhere. It didn't, it's not good. I mean, they did stick, but I was going for painted metal, so I'll just go back in with the base colors later. Whoop. Speaking of things I forgot, here's a little stairs made out of more of that foam core board that I don't like. And sticking with that theme, here are some incorrectly placed wooden trim for the windows, made out of paper dipped in paint and glue. The windows in the game only have the one crossbar, and I think I mixed it up with the shutters in my brain. But that's okay. So the buildings in the game have these little handles because it's all modular, and I happen to have some spare flat clay shingles from another project. So let's cut those into little U-shapes and then like non-committedly sand the edges a bit, and then chuck these bootleg Tetris pieces in some black acrylic soup. You know, that technique that worked so well last time. I gave them a quick dry brush with that same gunmetal paint, and then I also cut out 2 little hearts out of that same clay shingle sheet. A planter box made out of scrap foam board and some coffee sticks. A planter box. Oh look, a little stool! It comes covered with this napkin, so it's immune to spilling. I like this paper, because it's all thin, so it'll conform to anything you put it on. And also, it's got like a bumpy texture to it. And also, it's already painted. I should have just bought it in. Okay, so a while ago, I bought this sculpting foam, but I've never used it because it's such a small amount, so I didn't want it to run out. It's awful. I don't think I was ready for just how crumbly it would be, but if I ever want to craft my own beach, I know where to go. Oh, that's scary. Oof. I'll say it was very reminiscent to working with sugar. If you've ever had a crunchy bar, it was like the crunchy inside of the crunchy bar. It was like making Toblerone out of a crunchy bar, something we all can relate to, I'm sure. Care for a taste? Freshly painted. Actually, these little tops aren't tops, they're pots. Okay, but Easter's over, so melt down any spare chocolate bunnies you got, and then base coat the base with a coat of brown. This is just a coverall to be the dirt underneath the eventual grass. We don't want the house itself to be jealous of how wet the ground is, so let's give it a bath. But a dirty one. This is a mixture of brown and red and black acrylic paint, a lot of water, and just a drop of dish soap to break the tension, making what is referred to as a wash. The point of this is to creep into all of the cracks and crevices and simulate dirt and grime that has accumulated over time. So contrary to what you'd probably usually want, I use a piece of toilet paper to wipe just most of it off. One thing to keep in mind is to top coat your model before this step, since acrylic paint is water soluble and you don't want to mess up your base coat. So while that's drying, let's go back to the base and make a mess with some dry brushed greens and yellows. And now we can attach this base that I finished off camera, which is just more of that foam core board and coffee stirring sticks. So let's hot glue that in place. Oh, wait, hang on a minute. The last stick. I must savor this preciousness. So with the base in place, let's figure out ways to fill up this space. Oh, I know, grace. That's a bad rhyme. I slobbered on some watered down glue, and then I figured maybe I could use these awful pieces of wannabe Parmesan to fake some sand? It kinda worked, but it was very messy. A static grass applicator is a device that charges each blade of grass with a static charge, making them stand on end in the glue. But I don't have one of those, so I just fingered that devil's lettuce all over the place. It still totally works, but it makes for a flatter lawn, more akin to a mini golf course. And then I put the residue in this residue jar. This'll be my flock crockpot going forward. I then topped off the base with some more coffee stirring sticks coated in watered down acrylic brown and weighted down. Nice, I think we've earned a quick fit test. It leaves a big gap here. Maybe we'll fill it with more coffee stirring sticks. Oh hey, you did it, good job. Ultimately, I won't be gluing down the house to the base because I want to be able to put an electric candle in there, but I think we've reached assembly time. Whoa, dude, is that some green flock bushes? Yes. Combining these suspicious nuggets with some dollops of glue, I made some bushes around the base and also some plants in the planters. I didn't actually have any flowers I could use, so I just painted on some pink dots. Care for another serving of watered down glue and Parmesan? Ooh darn, I dropped a piece of chopstick right here. Hey, wanna know the secret recipe for moss sauce? It's just fine green turf, some glue and water. Tarrey Town in Breath of the Wild isn't very overgrown or dilapidated at all, but dang it, I want to use this flock. So I had this idea. Maybe this is what Tarrey Town will look like in Breath of the Wild 2. And that could make this precognitive fan art. It's also a great way to hide some crafty crimes. We'll put these slackers back in the crock pot. Flawless. You know what'd be nice to simulate some boulders? Is some rocks from my yard. Please take some rocks from my yard. I have so many rocks in my yard, I don't know what to do with all these I find a little entry fence, and I think it's time for some beauty shots. Thank you so much for watching my first crafting video. If you want some insight and pictures of the progress, I do have a Patreon set up now, but if you did enjoy this video, I highly recommend you go check out Stunson. There's some absolute top-tier crafting and editing over there, so I cannot recommend it enough. This project took about a month to complete. It was supposed to be a short little thing, but the next one will be Azkaban Prison, so that should be quick and easy. I'll see you around.